Hi, my name is Mark, and today I would like to tell you more about this small box here. This small box is called Neon Hope, and this is just a prototype copy. This game will be published by Hopeful Games. The Kickstarter campaign for this game will be in the first quarter of 2025. I'm not sure when I will publish this video and when the campaign will exactly go live, but I will leave links to the game's website and to the Kickstarter pre-launch page in the description of this video. And Neon Hope is a cooperative adventure card game for 1 to 4 players, a little similar to Arkham Horror RCG. And this game takes place in Berlin in the future. The publisher's website says it's like a cyberpunk meets solarpunk, and you are just a regular person who got involved in a lot of different, plots and different situations. In a second, I will show you how the game plays. This is a prototype, a demo version, so I only have one chapter, one scenario of this game. But I will show you how the game plays, what the game is about, and then I will tell you my opinion on this prototype. This is Neon Hope during the first scenario. I'm not even sure if this is the first scenario, because what you see here is a demo version, a prototype copy, so this scenario may even not be included in the final game. I'm not sure, but I don't think this is a big spoiler when you see different cards and elements in this video. As I said, this is a prototype, so the final look of the components may change in the final edition of the game. Also, some rules may change. What I explain today and what I show you here is based on the prototype copy that I got from the designer. We have a few different areas on the table here. This is not the beginning of a scenario. We are in the middle of the first scenario, because when you start the game, there are not that many interesting things on the table already. You have to discover a lot of things. So now we have more interesting stuff to show you. You have the player area here. And this is your player card with 4 basic stats. You have perception, you have charisma, you have courage, and you have technology. And you will use those stats to perform different actions and perform different tasks. Your character starts with a character tool. This is like your basic item that you start with. You have some additional items, additional tools that you will be able to acquire during the game if you spend enough resources. And you also have your action cards, your action deck. Each character, I have 2 different characters in this prototype version. Each character starts with a different deck of action cards. When you play solo, you start with 10 cards in your hand. And during the game, you will play those cards to boost the actions that you perform. You also have this endurance tracker, and endurance is kind of like your life points combined with your action cards, because anytime you are out of cards in your hand, you will lose 1 endurance, and if your endurance goes to 0, then you will lose the game, so you have to be careful. You have those action tokens, because each round of the game you have 3 actions. They help you to track how many actions you have left. If you use an action, you flip it, and that's how you know how many actions you have. You may get some additional tokens, but I will tell you about them a little later. So apart from your player area, there is this chapter deck, and the chapter deck tells you what things you have to do in order to complete the scenario. So here we have some introduction. Here it tells you how to set up the play area. Then you have the chapter 1 card. It tells you the objective. If you finish the objective, you will flip this card. You have some plot twist and game progression. And now we are in chapter 2 of the first scenario. And again, we have an objective that you have to complete. And you have to go through this deck until you get to a conclusion. Successful conclusion or a bad one, depends how you play during the game. Here we have this surveillance area, and you can say this is called network. You have this surveillance threshold card and this surveillance tracker, and this tracker counts as a timer in the game, because it starts at 0, and during the game, at the end of each round, and also sometimes as an effect of different cards, you will increase this surveillance tracker. And when it gets to 8, something happens. When it gets to 16, something bad happens as well. Only bad stuff happens on the surveillance card. When it goes to 40, you will lose the game. So you can lose the game if you are out of your endurance or if the surveillance level is too high. And you can win by completing the chapter cards. And here is together with the surveillance card, there are also some additional cards that may appear during the game. And those are like network cards. And those cards can be accessed by all players from any location. So this is a network, and you can hack the network to remove those cards from this area, because all the cards in the network area again are not good for players. They do some bad things, and you can try to hack them and to remove them. Here we have something that is called grid, and this grid you have always 16 tokens that are placed face down at the start of the game, and you have always 3 tokens on the archive card, and they are placed randomly. 3 are placed here and 16 are placed in the grid, and during different tests you will reveal those tokens, and they will modify the result of your action, like -2, +3, 0. You can have a skull, which means this is a failure, or this is like a critical success. So those tokens will modify the outcome of your actions. Instead of rolling a die, you will flip those tokens, and interesting thing is that all the tokens, they stay revealed until you reveal all of them. Then you take all those 19 tokens, and again 3 randomly will be placed in the archive and the rest will be placed here. So if you remember how many different tokens are in the game, you can in a way expect what type of tokens you can still reveal. For example, if you know how many success or failure or 0 or +2, -2 tokens are here, you can kind of guess what other tokens can be here. But of course, always 3 are in the archive, so this is the random part. And here, this area here, this is the area where the action of the game takes place, because you will have different settings, and settings, like here we have one setting and here we have another setting. Settings are places that you can visit during the game, and you have to visit those places in order to progress in the scenario and to complete the objectives of chapter cards. Each setting has got a card that says, for example, this is a Siphon Electro Club, and each setting has got 2 locations. One location on the top and one location at the bottom. Location can contain a lot of different cards. You can have some lead cards like this one, you can have enemies like this one. A lot of cards can be in one location. Each setting has got 2 locations, and during the game you can move from one location to another location, from one setting to another setting. And I think that are all the elements. Here you have the standee for your character. Right now I'm in the backstage at the Siphon nightclub, and you will use those standee to move around different settings. Of course, in the final version, I don't know, maybe they will have some miniatures or some other type of standees. This is a prototype copy. And how the game plays. Player area, different locations that you will visit, the network that you can hack, the grid that will modify the outcome of your actions. And each round when you play the game, you can perform 3 different actions. One action is that you can move somewhere, so you can move from one location to another location. you can move from one location at in one place to another location in another place. So this is one action that you can do. Another action that you can do is activate something. If a card has got a text that you have to spend an action to activate something, then you can use this action. And the third action that you can do is basically performing a task. And performing a task is like doing an action, basically. You have different types of tasks. You can get support, this is written on this card. You can investigate, you can hack, or you can fight. Of course, you can do the actions depending where you are actually, where your character is standing. And to do those tasks, you will use your stats. So, for example, each card of this type is called lead, because you get investigation leads. Here you have the name of the task that you can do. For example, get support. Here is the icon that tells you which statistic you will use. In this situation, you will use charisma. My charisma is 2. Here is the difficulty of the test. So in total, your charisma, after playing some action cards and after using this support tokens and after flipping one of the tokens from the grid, must be 2 or higher in order to succeed. Here are the tokens that were on the card before, because right now I have this card flipped to this side. So on the right side here you have tokens that you can either remove from the card or you can acquire when you perform a task with a success. So for example, here I can get support, I need 3, I will get this hope token, and if this is completed, I can read this card. You get a NeuroSteam drink at the bar, choose a player at the setting, they recover 2 cards from the discard pile. This happens when I remove all the tokens. On this card we have 1 token right now, but there can be many tokens. And you have to remove all of them to resolve the card. Usually those cards start at the A side. When you remove all tokens, they are flipped to the B side. And when you remove again the tokens that are on the B side of the card, this card is removed from play. So this is a lead card. This, for example, is an example of another lead card with investigation. And to investigate this card, I will use my technology skill. My technology is 1. This is not a high statistic, so I will have to boost it somehow in order to get 4. On those cards we have the secret tokens, and each time I investigate, I can remove 1 of those tokens. If I remove both of them, I will flip this card to the other side and something will happen. When you hack something, usually you can hack cards that are in the network area. Sometimes you can hack cards that are on different locations. If they have this special spot for hacking, you will have to do the hacking task, and if you succeed, you will place 1 of those black cubes on one of the hacking spaces. If all spaces are covered like this, this card is removed from the network area. This card has only got 1 space for the black cubes, but some cards may have 2 or 3, so you will have to hack it multiple times. And if you fight an enemy, this works kind of similar, because you have to use a fight task. You have to spend 1 action to fight. In this case, you will use your courage stat. My courage is 3. And to succeed, I have to get at least 1 value of my skill to deal 1 damage to this enemy. Here is another value. It says retreat. If my skill after all the modifications will be 4 or higher, this card will retreat, and it means that this card will be flipped to the other side and will be not active until the end of this round. And this card will not attack me, will not follow me, all the text that is written on this card is not active anymore. For example, this card tells you that confrontation, you cannot move away from this location when this corporate loyalist is in a location with you. But if you manage to retreat this card, it will be flipped face down, and then you can move away, run away from this card. Here is the life points from this enemy. If you deal, in this case, 4 damage, this card will be removed from play. And this means this symbol here shows you what happens when this character attacks you. This symbol means that you get 1 stress, and getting 1 stress, it means that you have discarded 1 card from your hand. Remember, if you are out of cards in your hand, you will lose 1 endurance, and when you lose all endurance, you will lose the game. The thing with endurance is that the number of your endurance tells you how many cards you can recover when you lose all of the cards. So for example, with 8, I only can have 8 cards in my hand. But if I have 4 endurance, I will only recover 4 cards. So the less endurance you have, the less action cards you have in your hand, then you will quickly lose them and you will lose even more endurance. So I told you about different tasks, how you perform them. You have to compare your stat. If you have the support token, you can use them. They will modify your statistics, and you can play action cards. I haven't told you anything about action cards yet. You have different cards. Each character has got different cards, and they do different things. You have to basically read those cards. For example, reading the crowd. You can use this card if you investigate or if you get support. It will not modify your number, but it will give you this green icon, and this means that you get impact. Impact means that you can basically perform this action twice. So if you investigate with this card, and if the final number of your skill is higher than the requirement of on the lead card, you can perform the investigate twice. And here add +2 for each enemy at your location. For example, this card will give you +3 to fight. If you succeed, you can analyze the encounter deck for free. It means you can take 3 cards from the encounter deck, and then you can reveal them, discard one of them, and you will reshuffle this encounter deck. So each action card does different things. Just remember, when you use an action card, you will discard it, and when you're out of cards, you will reduce your endurance. But then you will get as many action cards back into your hand as is your endurance level. So during your turn, you can perform 3 actions. You can move, you can activate something, or you can perform a task like getting support, investigating, hacking, or fighting. When you do everything in your turn, then is the encounter phase. During the encounter phase, all cards that have this text at the beginning of the encounter phase, they will trigger, like here, increase the surveillance by 2. Then you will place a hacking cube on all cards in the network area. So for example, I will put this card here, and then I will remove those cards. So basically the advanced surveillance only activates once. But if I manage to hack it earlier, I will discard this card without activating it. So you will activate all skills at the beginning of the encounter phase. You will play hacking cubes. You will increase surveillance by 1, and if you meet a specific threshold, you will do what it says here. Then if there are some cards that are retreated, like for example, you manage to retreat this card, you will flip it face up again. And then each player flips also these tokens face up, the action tokens, so you have 3 actions in the following round. And then you have to take 1 card from the encounter deck. And encounter deck, like in most games, contains cards that are mostly bad for your hero, like here, a rigged system. Draw 2 additional encounter cards. Network analysis, choose 1, suffer 3 stress, or spend 1 charge from an attribute support marker without effect. Or you get enemies like freelance security officer. Sometimes Depending on your difficulty level, you can have some good cards like gain 1 hope, and hope, this is this token, you can always discard 1 hope instead of getting 1 stress. But basically all those cards in the encounter deck, they are trying to defeat you, defeat your hero. The encounter deck sometimes it's modified during the game, like for example in this scenario I didn't start with any enemies in the encounter deck, but when I discovered something during the game told me to add enemies to this deck, so now this deck contains enemies. And this is how you play. You have your player phase, then you have the encounter phase. You may wonder how the enemies here can fight you. The enemies here will fight you anytime you reveal this skull. This means that you have failed your test, or if you reveal this skull. This skull gives you -1 to your test that you are performing. It tells you to reveal 1 more token here, but the skull means that enemies in your location, they will try to attack your character, or if there are enemies in other locations, they will move to your location. So the enemies in your location will attack, and the enemies in other locations will try to move to you. Otherwise, the enemies don't activate. In the encounter phase of the game, you only resolve the network area and the encounter deck. And this is basically how you play the game. As I said, this is a demo version, so I'm not really sure how the final version of the game will look like. I'm not sure if you will get more cards, probably yes, because they say level 1, so I'm guessing you will get level 2 cards as well. Maybe you will have more different tools. You can get the tools between scenarios, or you can get the tools anytime you focus, when you lose all the cards in your hand and you lose endurance, and then you recover your discarded action cards. If you have resources that look like this, you can spend them on getting some tools. So this is how you play the game. Let's wrap it up and let me tell you what I think about Neon Hope. Now you have an idea how the game plays, at least how the demo plays, because I cannot really tell you how the final version of this game will look like. I don't know how long this game will be, how replayable this game will be, how many scenarios it will have, or characters or cards or anything. I just got this prototype, but by playing this prototype I can say it's a really great game. This game got me interested mostly because it takes place in Berlin. I love Berlin. This is my favorite city in the world, and I try to visit Berlin every year. So when I heard that this game takes place in Berlin, takes place in the future, and mechanically is similar to Arkham Horror LCG, I thought this is something interesting and I should play it probably, because it looks like my type of game. And when I got it and when I played it, I can truly say that this is a great promise of a game. I cannot wait for the Kickstarter campaign to see what the designers, what ideas they have for the final version of this game, and I really cannot wait to play the final game when it comes out. I don't know how the final product will look like, because I tell you it's similar to Arkham Horror RCG, but in Arkham Horror the cool thing is that they surprise you in each scenario with some twists, and they do some different things with the cards, so the game is surprising in each scenario. I'm not sure how it will be here, but I cannot wait to find out. I love a lot of things about this game, that you have your action cards that you can play to boost your different tests and different tasks that you do. You can hack, you can investigate, you can get support, and you can fight with different enemies. You have this encounter deck that you set up at the beginning of the scenario, but then depending on your actions, sometimes you add more cards to the encounter deck. And you have these action cards that you can use, and they do different things, and you have your tools that you can buy between scenarios. There are the different locations that you can visit, and you have the lead cards, and when you do what is required on a lead card, you will flip the card and something new comes up. So it's really fun in terms of mechanics, and the game works great as a game. The story is quite interesting for now, at least what I've seen. So I'm really curious what will happen to my heroes, the ones from the prototype. So this is, as I said, a big surprise for me. There are sometimes games that you're waiting for, games from famous publishers and from famous designers, and sometimes there are games like Neon Hopes that you have not heard about, and then you play and then you say, wow, this is a cool game. So if you like cooperative games, adventure games, card games, especially if you like Arkham Horror RPG, you should definitely check out Neon Hope, because this is a great game. I played solo, and you can play solo with just one character, so it's also nice. You don't have to use many, 2 or 3 or 4, I don't know, characters. Great game. I had a lot of fun playing this prototype version. I'm quite sad that I have to send it to another reviewer, but I cannot wait for the final version of this game. And as I said, I will leave links to the Kickstarter pre-launch campaign. I will leave links to the publisher website. Everything will be in the description of the video, and click the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to my channel as well. All the links to my social media are also in the description of the video. I will post some cool photos of this game there. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.